The House of Three Parts. In the dusty outskirts of Jaidan Rafi, where wind carried the scent of millet and wood smoke, lived Malam Jibrin, a quietly respected man whose life had grown into two branches, Amina, his first wife, and Zainabu, the second. Though the village whispered often about households with more than one wife, few spoke with understanding. For Jibrin, life inside his compound was a woven mat, beautiful from afar, but each strand pulled taut, fragile, and dependent on the others to hold its shape. The first wife. Amina had married Jibrin in her youth. She was steady like the rhythm of the mortar in her hands, graceful in the way she moved through the compound. Her mind worked with precision. She knew how much grain would last the month, how many goats had been born that season, and which child in the compound needed discipline or rest. She and Jibrin had 3 children, Ibrahim, Fatima, and little Rahila, who still followed her mother everywhere like a young chick. Amina's love for her husband was mature, an old tree that kept its shade even in drought. Yet when Jibrin, after years of marriage, announced his wish to marry again, Amina's world shook. She agreed outwardly, as tradition expected, but inside, she felt something crack, something she thought would never break. She hid that pain like a secret wound. The second wife. Zainabu arrived young, delicate, and soft-spoken. She was the daughter of a distant cousin of Jibrin, and after her parents died unexpectedly, she had lived with relatives who treated her more as a burden than kin. The marriage had been, in some ways, a rescue, a chance for her to enter a stable home, to rebuild a sense of belonging. She entered the compound gently, like rain in the hot season, welcome, but unpredictable. Her beauty made some villagers whisper. Her youth made others predict trouble. But what they did not see was the fear in her eyes the first night she arrived. She had never lived in a house with another wife. She had never lived anywhere she felt she had a say. She wanted peace but didn't know how to claim it. 3. The husband in the middle. Jibrin believed himself a fair man. He divided days, responsibilities, and resources with painstaking precision, hoping that fairness would be the glue that held the household together. But he soon learned something every elder already knew. Fairness is not the same as harmony. He loved Amina with the familiarity of years and shared history. He loved Zainabu with the tenderness one reserves for a new flame that must be carefully shielded from wind. But he struggled to balance his roles, not because he was unjust, but because emotions are not ruled by calendars or rotations. The quiet tension. The first months were uneasy. Amina performed her duties perfectly, speaking respectfully, even smiling when needed. But inside, she felt replaced. She felt that her years of loyalty had been pushed aside to make room for someone younger. She did not blame Zainabu, at least not openly. She blamed fate. She blamed Jibrin. She blamed herself for being unable to stop her heart from hurting. Zainabu, on her part, felt like she lived in someone else's shadow. She tiptoed around the compound, always careful not to anger Amina, always trying to earn the children's affection. She helped with cooking, sweeping, and fetching water, even when it wasn't her turn. But no matter how hard she worked, she sensed a subtle barrier, a quiet stiffness in Amina's eyes, a guardedness she could not penetrate. Between them, silence grew like weeds. The children. Children, however, see the world without filters. Ibrahim, the oldest at 14, watched everything with a seriousness beyond his age. He respected his father and adored his mother, but he also liked Zainabu, who often brought small sweets from the market. He worried for Amina, though he didn't understand why. Fatima, mischievous and bold, befriended Zainabu easily. She loved helping her braid her hair and listen to the stories of the places she'd lived. But this affection made Amina jealous in ways she hated herself for feeling. Little Rahila was too young to understand. She simply went where she found kindness. Cracks in the compound. The first real conflict came quietly. One evening, during supper, Zainabu served tuwo and mayam kaka for the whole household. She had spent hours ensuring the food was perfect. But when the bowls reached Amina's side, she simply said, "I will cook for my children myself tonight." She did not raise her voice. She did not insult. But the message was sharp enough to cut the air. Zainabu's hands trembled, though she hid it quickly. Jibrin looked at his first wife, confused. "Amina, what is wrong with the food?" "Nothing," she replied. "I'm just not hungry for what is not mine." The table fell silent. Later that night, after the children slept, Jibrin tried to speak with her, but she turned away, tears slipping quietly onto her pillow. He realized then that fairness was not solving anything. He did not know how to heal a heart without reopening it. The Festival of Rain. Months passed, and the Festival of Rain approached. It was the village's most beloved celebration, a time of drumming, dancing, blessings for the fields, and the lighting of lanterns. Preparations filled the compound with activity. But the tension between the wives also grew. Amina crafted matching outfits for her children. Zainabu embroidered a new shawl for herself. Jibrin hoped the celebration would suit their strained household. But on the morning of the festival, a misunderstanding erupted. Zainabu had given Fatima a beaded necklace, a beautiful piece she had made by hand. Fatima, delighted, wore it proudly. But Amina saw it and stiffened. "Take that off," she told her daughter sharply. "Why?" Fatima protested. "Because it is not from me." The girl frowned, but obeyed, confused and hurt. Zainabu watched from the doorway, her heart sinking. Later, she tried to apologize. I did not mean to. Amina raised a hand. Do not speak. I am tired. Her voice shook, not with anger, but with pain she could no longer hide, the breaking point. One night, during Jibrin's rotation with Amina, a storm raged through the village. Wind howled against the doors. Thunder roared across the sky like giants wrestling. Inside the room, Amina finally spoke the truth she had held for months. Why did you marry her? Her voice was a whisper, but the storm quieted in Jibrin's ears. He took a long breath. I married her because she needed a home. Because she had no one left. Amina looked at him with wet, burning eyes. And what did I need? After all these years, what did you think I needed? He did not answer quickly. Not because he didn't know, but because the truth was uncomfortable. You needed nothing, he said finally. You were strong. You ran this house with steadiness. You did not need rescuing. Amina closed her eyes. That is exactly it, she whispered. You rewarded my strength by giving the tenderness of your heart to someone weaker. Jibrin felt the ground shift beneath him. For the first time, he saw her not as the pillar of his household, but as a woman who had sacrificed more than he acknowledged. Zainabu's choice. A few days after the storm, Zainabu approached Amina while she was preparing millet flour. Her voice trembled, but she spoke with determination. I want to say something, she began. Amina did not respond, but she did not walk away. I never wanted to take your place, Zainabu said softly. I never wanted to be a burden. If you truly feel that this house is too small for both of us, then I will leave. I can return to my aunt. I don't want to live where someone wishes I were gone. Amina froze. Her fingers loosened around the calabash bowl. For the first time, she looked at Zainabu not as a rival, but as a frightened woman trying to survive. You think leaving will solve anything? Amina asked quietly. Where will you go? Who will care for you? You think I want suffering for you? Zainabu lowered her eyes. I only want peace. And do you think your leaving will bring me peace? Amina's voice cracked. My problem was never you. Zainabu looked up, confused. Amina touched her own chest. It was here. The unexpected bridge. Over the next weeks, something shifted. Small things at first. Amina taught Zainabu how she preferred the yam stored. Zainabu invited Amina to sit with her while she mended old clothes. They began sharing the courtyard space without tension.